What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We have done it. We have made it pretty close to the end of 2020. For as horrible as it's been, we've made it. And just to wrap up the year, I thought I would do a year-end review. I meant to do a Yule log this year. Unfortunately, it just snuck up on me. I wasn't able to do it. I wasn't able to steal anyone's fireplace for like 2-3 hours. But I just thought I would go through some of the numbers and some of the changes in the channel over this year, talk about some of the videos I've worked on, some of the projects I've done throughout the year, and just tell some of the stories I might not have told when I actually put these videos together, because there's a lot of stuff that I've just haven't had enough information to do entire videos on. So without any further ado, let's do a quick dive. Let's wrap up 2020 by going behind the scenes and talking about just some of the weird craziness that went on in 2020. So the first video I released in 2020 was actually my 2019 year-end review, which I didn't get around to uploading until January 17th, oddly enough. And then about a week later, on the 28th, a little bit over a week later, the previous fall, I think it was like middle to end of October, I had gone out to the West Virginia State Penitentiary. So I compiled some pictures and videos and stuff like that, stuck it out there. And right around the same time, I was invited to join a West Virginia history group. That has really helped me out a lot. I've been able to share a lot of video and pictures and stuff like that on there. It's just been a really, really great community. Ooh, February 11th. That was when I uploaded my trip to the Wetzel County Museum. I actually went there because I had started doing some research for my Jennings Gang of Wetzel County video. But while I was there, Wetzel County, the museum has a flood wall. And so that was also, I'd been wanting to do a West Virginia flood video for a while. Unfortunately, every single time I waited until the fall to do one, we would generally have pretty catastrophic storms somewhere. So I kind of wanted to do it. I've been wanting to do it for a while. I need to do a follow-up to it. I'll put up these two pictures. One is of the Wetzel County sign. The other one is of this old church. It might have been a schoolhouse. It was some type of building. And that was when I decided that 2020 was going to be the year I was going to go to old cemeteries and churches. I was going to photograph old cemeteries and churches, which was kind of a joke. Papa Best Virginian, my father, was infamous for going on these excursions over to the mountains where he would take numerous rolls of film, and he would just photograph landscapes, old churches, old cemeteries. Whenever I put that out there, a lot of people that kind of knows my family, knows where I come from, stuff like that, were like, yeah, you absolutely need to do that. What we didn't know at the time was, because this was like end of February, 1st of March, I planned on doing numerous other trips to museums and stuff like that, but a lot of them would be shut down this year. So I was kind of forced to going to some of these other historical locations, other outdoor locations. So yeah, that was kind of a weird, it started out as a joke, but it turned 100% true. Ooh, Valley Falls. When did I put out this video? That was March 10th, right when everything started shutting down. I went out to Valley Falls. The time lapse of just the falls that I kind of deemed the Adult Swim waterfall shot, I'm really proud of that, and it literally took maybe 4 or 5 minutes to do. April 16th, that was when I released my video on the Jennings Gang of Wetzel County. whenever I went out to the Wetzel County Museum, they didn't have any exhibits or anything dedicated to the Jennings gang. And as far as I know, I still don't think they do. That video has done a lot better than I thought it would. A lot of people have liked it. A lot of people have been interested in it. And it is a very weird little piece of local Wetzel County history. It had been a joke basically since I started the channel that Wetzel County is kind of the home to unsolved mysteries and unsolved crimes, which kind of how I got involved in this whole weird thing was growing up. Of course, we had the Wetzel County Jane Doe, the Littleton Jane Doe, but also I think when I was like 3 or 4, for those of you who, while stuck inside, decided to watch every single episode of the original Unsolved Mysteries, whenever I was like 3 or 4, there was a murder over in Folsom, like 2 towns over from where I grew up, and which actually was featured on Unsolved Mysteries. That's kind of how I got involved in history and true crime stuff, and then eventually the paranormal was through this case that happened very locally that was featured on Unsolved Mysteries. And then while studying the history of Wetzel County to find out that one of the first significant historical events after the split from Virginia after the end of the Civil War was an unsolved murder. It's one of those little pieces of history that you can't make up. April 28th was when I did my second trip out to Cooper's Rock. But I can remember the day I actually went out. It was April 20th, and I'll never forget this because I went out. There wasn't a ton of people out, but there was definitely more people out than like when I went to Valley Falls. Everyone I ran into was super cheery and super happy, and a lot of them, I saw a lot of Baja hoodies. If you know what a Baja hoodie is, you're probably starting to piece it all together. Weirdest thing I saw all day was just a chick wearing like a giant hoodie and fishnets. And I was like, that's kind of odd, but I really didn't think anything of it. And then after hiking around all day, I get back to this like picnic area, and I'm starting to like plan out, okay, do I have time to do any more trails or whatever? And I pull out my phone and I look at it, and I see that it's 4:20, and I'm like, oh, that's why everyone was in a good mood. It's because they might be on the dope. No, they were definitely on the dope. May was my single most subscription increase in all of 2020. I think I got like 22 or 24 new subscribers in May alone. And also May brought about, that was when I went out and I found the grave of Little John Jennings. And this is where, oddly enough, that comment I made about my summer was going to be dedicated to old churches and cemeteries kind of started to come into effect, because I would just drive around, find old churches, find old cemeteries. And one of the things I started doing was I started going to old Catholic cemeteries. Oddly enough, this one I found, I posted some pictures from online, and this woman said that her either grandmother or great-grandmother was buried there, and her family had made several trips to the area trying to locate it, but due to it being in a foreign language, I think she said her great-grandmother was from, I think, Lithuania, somewhere like that, somewhere in Eastern Europe. And then later on, the family had the name changed. They were never able to find the grave, and I would really love to get the opportunity to document and photograph some of these older cemeteries. But June 12th, I went to the W Arboretum. That was a fairly miserable video to make. I forget how it happened. I was just looking into possibly just driving around Morgantown, getting some pictures, having fun, and I had never heard of the Arboretum before. And I kind of saw it on a map and started doing some research into it, and I'm like, man, there is an outdoor hiking area right in the middle of Morgantown. And yeah, it was definitely worth a trip. And that was where I actually was just walking through, and I happened to look up, and I saw a drone hanging off of a tree branch. And I salvaged it. I took the memory card, had nothing on it. It really seemed like it was someone, first time they took it out, they wrecked it into a tree and just left it. July 6th, when I went out to the Lewis Wetzel Wildlife Management Area, that was also a pretty fun day. That was a day that could have turned out very, very bad, because without thinking, I basically just hopped in my car, went up to Lewis Wetzel, found the first trail that had one of those hiking markers on it, and just took off through the woods. And that was a horrible mistake. I'd forgotten how large the Lewis Wetzel Wildlife Management Area is. I think it's only like 1,000 acres smaller than Cooper's Rock State Park. Like, it's a huge area. It makes up almost the entire southern tip of Wetzel County. July 20th was when I did my How Accurate is Morgantown in Fallout 76. One thing I had a lot of fun photographing was the USS West Virginia Memorial they have there. I don't think I've ever done anything with it. It's just one of those things I photographed just because I was there at the moment. Really, I had never walked around the actual downtown campus. I had walked by it, I had driven by it, many a night going to or stumbling back from downtown Morgantown, which is something eventually I'm going to have to do. If the bars and the restaurants open back up, eventually I am going to have to take you guys on an evening to downtown Morgantown. Unfortunately, I might try to pawn that off onto someone else, but it is an experience. I know I made some people mad in that video because I made a comment, something like, no matter how disgusting the house parties are in Fallout 76, they're nowhere near as disgusting as an actual Morgantown house party. I know I've never really talked a whole lot about my time living in and around Morgantown, because there's not a whole lot to talk about. For the most part, whenever I was staying over there, I basically crashed in this. It was actually a pantry, but it was the perfect size for a twin-size bed. And I remember the first time I had a female friend over, I'm like, oh, and this is my room. I know it's kind of small. And without missing a beat, she was like, no, it's fine. I love Harry Potter. Like, that's how small. Prickett's Fort was a fun little trip. Again, even though I've spent so much time in north central West Virginia, I had never been out to Prickett's Fort. Definitely have a fireplace that I could use for a Yule log. Great little museum, great little fort. Just a great little trip out there. And again, ended up in another historical cemetery. This is where Zackwell Morgan, who was actually one of the founders, I think the main founder of Morgantown, the namesake of Morgantown, is actually buried out there. September 22nd, real WV ghost stories. That was a fun video to make. That was a video that was directly a response to someone that basically told me ghost stories are an absolute waste of time. They're meant for children. And I took that personally, because I feel if it wasn't for ghost stories, I probably wouldn't have ever gotten interested in the historical side of things. Anytime you start looking into folklore, there's little bits of history. Actual history sprinkled throughout. And because of that, if you know what you're looking for and you know some of the surrounding facts, you can get a lot of great information out of ghost stories. Also around this time, I went out to the Whitegate Cemetery, and I really haven't done anything with this footage either. I might just do like a cemetery super compilation. It's definitely one of the more unique cemeteries in really West Virginia, but I think the world in general, because it's where all the inmates that died at the penitentiary, whose bodies weren't claimed, ended up being buried. Prior to the inception of the White Gate, the prisoners that died at the penitentiary were buried within the penitentiary walls. Not physically, they weren't like Edgar Allan Poeing people, like physically shoving them into the walls within the grounds of the penitentiary. Ooh, October 20th, I did the Monsters of West Virginia video. I finally got to talk about white things, probably my favorite West Virginia cryptid, a unique West Virginia cryptid. That was a really fun video. But also, in October, I got my new weather vane, and no one mentioned anything about it. Smash the subscribe button for the weather vane. It's a good weather vane. Actually, I don't... I should probably hook the thermometer up to the outside world so it's actually useful to me. November 25th, that was when I did my Philippi Grafton Weston video. That was a fun, that was a fun little project to do. I hadn't really gotten an opportunity to just take off and just drive around in a while. That was a lot of fun. Going down through those areas, and definitely that's what I want to do more of. Pick a road and just take off. I think probably the most fun I've had this year is the times that haven't planned out videos. I've just kind of taken off, and wherever I go is where I end up. Last year, I joked around that I was gonna buy a big poster of the state and a pack of darts and just throw a dart and be like, hey, what's there to do? And all right, looks like we're going to Shepherdtown. Like, let's just do a run through of the numbers. What have I actually accomplished this year, number wise? So at the end of 2019, my goal for the year was I wanted to get 100 subscribers. I wanted to get that unique URL. So how did I actually do? 2020, I visited 3 museums, 3 state parks, 3 wildlife management areas, 10 historical state markers, 7 cemeteries, 3 covered bridges, 7 other historical locations. I took 1,600 pictures, uploaded 21 videos, which added up to 185 minutes of content. I got 5,700 views, 280 hours of watch time, and got 131 new subscribers. That is amazing. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for allowing that to happen. So, in conclusion, what's my plans for 2021? Where do I plan on taking this channel? What directions do I plan on taking this channel in? Honestly, I plan on doing pretty much the exact same thing. Seems to be working pretty well so far. In fact, a lot of people have actually talked to me that I've interacted with this past year, have told me that they really enjoy kind of how impromptu and unplanned some of the stuff I do is. But more importantly, I would... One thing I have thought about doing is, it isn't hard. Nothing I do is difficult. I have my camera. I use entirely free software. I was thinking about possibly doing a series of like tutorials, video editing, tutorials. How do I put together some of these videos and slideshows and stuff like that. And I would definitely like to interact with some other photographers in West Virginia. One thing I really enjoyed back in the day, I can't remember what channel it was, but they would do these specials where they would go through these big like music festivals, and it would basically be like MTV Cribs, but for these bands' vans and tour buses. Like, what are the essentials you have to make it through one of these big music festivals? And I think that would be something that would be fun if I could get to the point where I can work with and interact with other content creators. What's in your backpack? What are the essentials you have to have when you go out. 2021. Honestly, I think I should be more than capable of hitting 400 to 500 subs in 2021. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed yet, smash that subscribe button. And yeah, I just plan on continuing doing what I'm doing. If you I've been invited to do some podcasts. I've been invited to do some other things. I'm definitely interested in that. I'm definitely going to have to do those, via Skype or some other program. I'm definitely, keeping with the whole social distancing thing. Guys, it's been, for as bad of a year as it's been an amazing year. And, you guys are too. So thank you for everything, making everything possible. It's been an amazing year. And going into 2021, stay wild, stay wonderful. And let's have a great 2021, everybody.